Hi there and welcome to another PSD Tut spoon-fed Photoshop tutorial. I'm Gavin Steele, and in today's tutorial I'm going to be taking you through Leslie's creating a chalkboard icon using Photoshop and IconBuilder. In today's tutorial I'm just going to take you through the Photoshop part, and we're going to be creating something that looks similar to this. And again, you can check out all of the steps over at the site psd.tutsplus.com. Don't forget to check out the video section where you can find out our in-depth screencasts or some of our quick tip screencasts over at psd.tutsplus.com/tag/videos. So let's have a look at the final effect one more time. This is the icon that we're going to be creating. It's a real nice and quick little wood texture, background board, some grunge effects with a brush, and a nice and simple effect. So let's get started. Let's load up Photoshop, go to File, New, and we're going to create a document that is 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels, and I'm going to click on OK, and I'm going to bring that up and fill the space like so. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to create a group, and we're going to call this group Frame, like so. And then we're going to create a new layer, but we're going to use our rectangle tool, and we're going to draw out a rectangle, and we're going to call this our wood layer. So this is actually the full width of our chalkboard. So I'm going to grab that, bring that out somewhere like so, nice and big. Stick that in the middle, call that layer wood, and we're going to apply some layer styles. So to apply our layer styles, we're just going to double click on our layer, and our layer styles window should just pop up. Now you can see I've already got some layer styles on there, so I'm just going to cancel that. I'm going to right click on this layer, and I'm going to come down to where it says clear layer styles, just to make sure that anything from previous tutorials I happen to have done or any work that you've done doesn't get applied to this layer. Let's double click on that layer one more time and load it up, and in our layer styles we're going to apply an inner shadow to start with. Make sure you set the inner shadow to soft, and a soft light will do it, and we can leave it on black, that's fine. We're going to reduce it down to 30%. The angle of 120 degrees is fine. Make sure you've got use global light checked. Distance we're going to set to 30, 0 for our choke, and then 50 for our size. Then we're going to come down to inner glow, and again this time we're going to change this to soft light. We're going to reduce this down to 35. 0 is fine for the noise. The color is going to be black. Let's bring our color picker up here and choose black. And then we're going to set this to softer edge, and we're going to have this set to 10 and 20 for our size, like so. And then we're just going to change our contour to the one on the bottom left, this nice little arc, and everything else can stay the same. Gradient overlay, we're going to apply a little gradient overlay, have it set to normal. We're going to keep it at 100%, and I'm going to load up our colors. So starting on the far left, we're going to start with the color B7, 8B, 4B. Click on OK, and that's going to be at location 0. Then at about 17% for our location, we're going to have this set to DEA 85B. And then over at 100% over here, we're going to have this set to FED C97. Okay, that all looks pretty good. Let's click on OK there. Again, make sure it's set to linear. We've got this checked for our line with layer, 90 degrees, and we're going to increase our scale to 135. And let's click on OK. And we're starting to get the color of our wood, which is good, and kind of the beveling and the edge of our frame. Next thing to do is create a new layer. Click on our new layer icon down the bottom. We're going to call this wood texture. We're going to fill this layer with black, so I'm going to press G on the keyboard just make sure I've got black, which I don't have selected there, but I'm going to make sure I do. Click on OK. I'm going to fill that whole layer with black. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Filter, and I'm going to go to Noise and Add Noise. And we want to have our noise set to about 130 is fine. Gaussian and monochromatic. Click on OK. Back up to Filter, we're going to apply a motion blur. And the motion blur is going to be set to 0 and 50 for our pixels. That's pretty good. Click on OK. Now what we want to do is apply some levels. So head up to Image, Adjustments, and then Levels. And we're just going to bring our black in a little bit. So our black can be set to 95, 0.88 for the grays there, and the white can come into 154, like so. So there's some actual, really good contrast between the white and the black. Click on OK. Right, next thing to do is to command click on our wood layer. That's going to give us our selection. Command Shift I is going to inverse that selection. Hit delete, and we're only going to get that in the middle. We didn't want to do that, so Command Z. Let's just undo that a second. Grab that selection like so, and we should be able to just delete. Oh, sorry. Let's go back. Select that. Command Shift I. I got it right the first time. Hit delete, and this is our frame. Sorry, I thought the outside there was my frame, but this is our frame that we're working on in the middle. So we've got rid of that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to set this to soft light and reduce that down to about 30%. Okay, I'm going to take it down to 30%, but around there it's a little. I'm going to have mine at 34. I like my wood to look pretty strong, and I like that grain to shine through. Okay, if you deleted that space and you only had the black area around the sides, then what I was doing was I assumed the icon was filling up the whole screen there, but it wasn't. It was this box, and I thought this was the center of the icon that we're going to turn green. So sorry for my baffling. We'll move on. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate our wood texture layer, and we're going to do that twice. So I'm going to Command D to deselect, and then on the keyboard I'm going to hit Command or Control on a PC, and I'm going to hit J twice. So we've got 2 copies. Now what I'm going to do is, with our duplicated layers, we're going to set the bottom one to 10%. So reduce that down to 10% in our opacity. We're going to set that to overlay. And then I'm going to just bring that down below the top one and select our top layer. And I'm going to leave that on soft light and reduce that one all the way down to 15. Like so. So you can see my wood grain's pretty strong there. Now just make sure that you have the soft light 15 on the top of your layer stack, and underneath you have 10% overlay. Then you have your wooden texture, and then you have your wood. And if at any point you want to just bring this down a little bit, we can go back into our original, just knock the opacity down just a touch like so, and you can really fine tune that wooden grain. Okay, now we're going to create our board in the middle. So I'm going to come to the top here, I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to call this board. And we're going to command click on our wood layer like so. We're going to head up to selection. We're going to go to modify our selection, contract it 60 pixels, click on OK. We're going to get this area down here in the middle. We're going to fill that with black, so we're going to hold down G, click and fill that with black. And then with that filter black, we're going to head into the layer styles, Command D to deselect, double click on that layer, and in our layer styles we're going to apply a drop shadow, and we're going to have that set to normal. We're going to select our color, and the color we're going to be using is 74918C. Click on OK. Now for our opacity, we can bump that up to 100. Our angle of 120 and align with the use global light to have that checked. Then we're going to reduce the distance down to 2. 0 for our spread, and size we're going to have at 3. And then we're going to change our contour again to this one on the bottom left. And then we're going to move on to inner shadow. And inner shadow we're going to set to normal. We're going to change that color. And this time we're going to go with a 034 C40. Let's click on OK. And again, we're going to increase our opacity up to 100. This time we're going to change our angle to 90. Then we're going to have 3 for distance, 0 for choke, and 5 for our size. And oh, I've just read my previous notes there, sorry, for the inner shadow. Oh no, we are working inner shadow, sorry. So inner shadow should be 305, that's right. Okay, and we are going to change our contour to this one on the bottom left again. And then we're going to apply our inner glow. Now the inner glow we're going to set to normal. Our opacity we're going to have set to 20. 0 for our noise. Black for our color. And softer is fine, edge is fine. 20 for our choke. And 30 for our size. Angle stays the same, that's all okay. Gradient overlay. Again, set to normal, 100%. And first color we're going to have is going to be 3B 837 8. Then we're going to grab our final color and we're going to set that to 035 B4D. Click on OK and on OK. Then our style, we're going to keep that to linear, and 90 degrees is fine, and we're going to bump this up to 150. And we can click on OK, and we can start to see that taking shape. It's looking quite nice. Now we're going to move on and we're going to create the grunge effect on the inside. Now in order to create the grunge effect, and we take it back over to the tutorial, there's a link in the tutorial. Let's take you down here. Here we go. There's a link to a grunge brush pack, and you can check that out over here. And if you give a little bit of credit, it says, as per the authors, please collect it if appreciated. If you download and use them, also credit me, and please link back so others can find them. A lot of these guys and girls create all of these cool resources for free. You just got to give them a little bit of credit. Download it, add it to your collection, leave a comment, thank them, and then you can use it in your work, which is great. So I've already installed that. I'm going to head over to my brush layer. I'm going to come down, and you can see these cool grunge corners down at the bottom here. Just going to choose a random one, but one that's got a pretty heavy fill in the corner. So I'm going to go with this one here, top left. And excuse me. Before we do that, we're going to create a new layer for these because we don't want these to affect our actual board layer. So create a new layer. Let's just give that a name. And with black, I'm going to paint this on in the corner. So just reduce my brush size using my open and close square brackets. Okay, I'm just off the corner there. Okay, then I'm going to grab the bottom right corner, and again just reduce that down. Okay, and then grab a bottom left. Actually, I think just the opposing ones are used in the tutorial, so I'm going to leave that now. We don't want it to be too grungy. And once you've painted them on, we're going to have them set to normal, but we're going to reduce it down to about 10%. So let's take it down to 10 and have a look. Oops. Oh. Okay, now it's just a little bit too faint for me, so I'm just going to bring up my opacity. Just keep going until we get a little bit. If you go too far, you can just bring it back. And I think that's pretty good right there. You might want to add a little bit more yourself, but I think for now that's pretty good. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to apply like an all kind of brush mark on the board. Create a new layer. We're going to call this layer Old Effect and hit enter. And then we're just going to grab one of the presets in our brushes panel. We're going to grab one of the chalk brushes. So we've got our normal brushes here, and then just down here, you can see if you move your mouse over it, you've got chalk, 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 splatter, chalk, chalk, and so on. So I'm just going to grab this chalk one here, increase the size, and again on this Old Effect layer, we're just going to paint this on. So something like that. Reduce that down to 10%. I'm going to grab my board layer, just mask off those edges, and you can see we've got that wave line. Now I'm going to undo that a second and reduce the size of my brush just a touch, and just try and get a couple of more strokes in there. Again, grab my board and reduce that down to about 10%. Okay, it kind of gives you that kind of wave as if someone's kind of rub out something on the board. 10% should do it. Again, you can add and decrease as much as you like. In fact, I'm going to leave mine at about 3. That looks pretty good, nice and faint as if it's been done a long time ago. Right, now we're going to add some shadows. So we're going to create a new layer. I'm going to command click my board layer, and then we're going to fill this with black. So again, G on the keyboard and fill that in. Let's just rename this shadows, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer mask. And then with our brush, a normal brush, a big soft brush, like so. We're going to start to bring this back. Like so. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, and then we're going to reduce that down to about 50%. Command D to deselect, and that's going to add to that kind of darkness and kind of grunge effect. If it kind of blacks out your grunge effect, we can always go back into that layer, just increase that opacity just a touch. Like so. And again, if you might want to have these come across the middle more, you could always just grab a brush, go back in there, I'm going to add more to the bottom right maybe, and again just add that, click on our board, and we can just mask that out. And as you go, you can keep coming back, just making little changes like this. Make sure we put that on the layer. Okay, and that's always going to mask out those edges. Bring that back just a touch. And bring my shadows down just a touch. Okay, it looks pretty good. Okay, next thing for you to do is to add the content into the middle. Now, if you grab a white brush, we just create a quick layer here. If you grab one of those chalk brushes again, or anything like that, and you can write on the board, you can draw circles, all that kind of stuff. You know, reduce the opacity right down. Like so. That would be homework 1, etc. And you can start to add your content to our chalkboard. Right, the next thing that we need to do is we're going to work on the corners where the joins meet for each piece of wood to make the frame. So in order to do that, we're going to create a new layer, and I'm going to use the line tool. Just set that black for now, and I'm just going to zoom in down here and have it set to 2 pixels, and I'm going to go from this corner straight across to this corner. Double click on our layer styles, and I'm going to get rid of our inner shadow and inner glow for now, and I'm going to start with a drop shadow. I'm going to have my drop shadow set to normal. Color is going to be FFF 2C3. Click on OK. Have that set to 100. Angle is going to be 90. I'm not going to use the global light. 2 for my distance. Oops. 2 for my distance. And 1 for size. And we're going to change the contour to this one on the top right. And that looks pretty good. Color overlay. Let's have that set to normal. And we're going to change this color to D99 C44. And have that set to 100%. Click on OK. Let's just zoom out. Back to 100. Let's bring this over. And then I'm just going to reduce that layer's opacity just a touch. Like so. V on the keyboard, hold down Alt. And I'm just going to drag that up to this corner, like so. Hold down Alt, drag that down. Command T, and I'm just going to rotate that, like so. And then just nudge that down. V again, hold down Alt, drag that over. And position that. It doesn't need to be perfect as long as it's not going over the edge, which it isn't. Let's take us out. Then you can start to see the edges taking shape, which is really good. That takes us to the last thing that we need to do, and I'm going to grab my group, going to duplicate my group, turn off my original, just while Photoshop thinks about that. That's it. Turn off my original, Command E to merge that group, and Command J, we should have 3 copies. Going to leave this top layer, come down to the second layer, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and we're going to have that set to about 5 pixels. Click on OK. Going to do the same to this layer, Command F will apply the same filter to this layer, but this one, V on the keyboard, we're going to move it down 3 pixels. Like so. And that's our finished icon. Okay, the next thing to do would be to take that into one of the icon applications, such as IconBuilder, and there's another one that's mentioned here which sounds pretty good. Let's have a look. Yeah, this one here. So IconBuilder's not too expensive, £79, and then there's another version which is $79, sorry, and $12.90. So grab one of those. I've got demos, try them out, and just go through. There's only a couple of steps you need to go through. 2 steps and 5 steps for that one, and just import them in. Choose the sizes you want. Fairly simple, and then export them at those sizes, and then you can start using them in your other projects, which is brilliant. So once again, thanks very much to Leslie for the tutorial on how to create a chalkboard using Photoshop and IconBuilder. I've been Gavin Steele. Do check out our other videos in the video section, and I hope you enjoyed that.